So it is about 9:30 in the morning, probably a little later than that because I've been terrible. And I'm going to do a quick walkthrough of the state of the garden in the morning. And then my hope is, because I don't have kids today, I'm going to do a bunch of work in the garden, and then I'm going to do a full garden video later today after all of the work is done. So I'm really bad about taking before and after. I'm trying to get better about that. So I'm just gonna do a little bit of a walkthrough, silent fly through. And I'll put some music in the background so it's not just like creepy Lauren yelling at butterflies that I can already see, white cabbage moths, starting their daily routines. Yeah. That is the garden. And a very silly cat-faced tomato that half is ripe and half is not. Hey, it is 7:48 p.m. and I am finally done working in the garden for the day. So nothing really changed in the back tonight. I didn't have time. That will be tomorrow's drama. But I did get BT. I found BT finally. And so I am going to spray that as soon as the garden tour is done, and it is close to night. This is my biggest mistake right now, is that I did not get all of the grass weeds out of here before my carrots germinated. My carrots germinated. So it's been over 85 every single day since I planted these, and they still germinated. So that makes me irrationally happy that I have carrots all the way down here. So we will actually have carrots for fall. And then this is a mixture of 3 different kinds of basil. You can see the dark purple basil is coming up, and then the 2 other sweet basils. I think I did a Thai basil in there too. And there's probably some of these are weeds, which when they get bigger, I will pluck them out. But I have parsnips and carrots and basil and peas coming up, and beans. My beans are coming up. And then there's like weird volunteer nonsense, which probably weeds that I will have to get rid of. I also found a potato in here earlier. I was like, no, this is reminding me of why I had to break up this bed to begin with. And then that's the one pea plant that is left over from before. So yeah, that's all getting together, being happy. We'll have a fall garden. My Brussels sprouts are getting bigger and being attacked by cabbage moths. And so the caterpillars are evil, and I have been hunting them and squishing them by hand and feeding them to the chickens. But I'm calling in chemical reinforcements. This is the big cabbage that we harvested. You can see where we cut it off the top, and it is making all of these little baby cabbages. So this one is starting to form a head. This one is starting to form a head. That one's starting to form a head. So my favorite thing in the world now is if you grow a cabbage in the spring and you cut off the main, it's going to side shoot like a broccoli does, and it's going to send off all these little baby cabbage heads. So I don't care if it's like a 5-pound cabbage, because this is giving me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 right now. 14, maybe 15 small cabbages, like Brussels sprouts, right? But like, it's a cabbage. So there's part of me that thinks that like this is modifying, this is how we got a Brussels sprout, right? Because it's all just selective breeding. But I'm just gonna see what happens, and I'm gonna leave this to grow. And if it gives me, if all of my fall seedlings died because caterpillars ate them, but this one weird cabbage that I planted back in March is the one that gives me Christmas cabbages, cool. I'm not going to be mad about it. My butternut squash is taken off. This is another cabbage seedling that just got really leggy and has been attacked by all manner of things. There's a bug in there right now. I think that's a little flea beetle, because of course there's a little flea beetle just messing with us. Or possibly a cabbage aphid. It might be a cabbage aphid. Yeah, that's cabbage aphid. So it's fine. It's what it is. My sunchokes are blooming. They are beautiful little sunflowers, and they are very tall, and they will give us food. Onions. We've been eating blackberries. Our corn is not corn. It is being outcompeted by a bunch of other things, so it will most likely never give us corn. Blackberries are coming. We're getting a couple of every day, so that's good. Yeah. More potatoes in the ground, more potatoes in the ground, cucumbers, tomatoes, garlic. I planted some brassicas in here, got outcompeted by weeds. This is eventually going to be where the new chicken coop is being built. So I'm not worried about the weeds, because it's all just going to be scratched for the chickens in like 4 or 5 months. The plan is to harvest this and let it all die back. And I'm going to move the garlic into a bed, and then we will build the new coop, and it will be this will be part of the run. So all of this is going to get moved out. So the blackberries and the tayberries are going to get dug up, and they're going to get moved to the outside of the fence. But yeah, you know, it's all a process. It doesn't happen overnight, and we didn't want to lose out on our harvest. Blueberries, which these aren't doing very well. They get too much sun. It's too hot for them. So my hope is when we build the coop that will provide a little bit of shade and a little bit more of a microclimate for them, and then they'll be able to recover. But I planted them, I think last year, maybe the year before, and was able to keep them alive, but they just hate summer. They hate summer. They hate Swedish sun. It's too bright for them. My yellow squash in here that I'm just trying to space up, and then I will probably plant something in the middle just to kind of hide it. I'm probably going to plant a brassica in the middle to try and hide it from all of the cabbage moths. But yeah, we're getting new female blossoms every day. And I planted a new squash in there to replace it, expecting these to die, and it didn't happen. So, you know, same thing here. I left in the stump of a cabbage. So this stump died and it didn't respawn. This stump is making new cabbages. So, you know, I don't know if it is just having the right amount of sun, having the root systems not disturbed, if like what it is that is making that happen, but I'm just going with it and I'm letting it happen. And then these are the 2 Brussels sprouts that were planted here that are there forever. Some very sad noodle beans and tomatoes, which are actually making me little tomatoes now, which is nice. But there's also grass, you know. Everywhere there's grass. Just grass. And I have to weed out all the grass because it keeps trying to take over my beds. And then that's just a dead onion. So that's fun. Maybe that'll keep some pests away. And then there's a little cucumber in there. Being a cucumber. You know how cucumbers do. But yeah, this is just... I did not put weed cloth underneath this bed when I built it, and I thought I had put enough soil that it wouldn't grow through, and I obviously did not. So that's fine. Worse things to happen. Beans planted on the outside, beans planted on the outside, nasturtium, yellow squash, more tomatoes, Brussels sprouts, and then that is kabuka, Japanese pumpkin, winter squash. That was the one that I thinned out from the experiment container garden in the front. Thinned it out, put it in a pot of soil in the greenhouse. It is actually now doing better than the original one that was in the container. So the container garden in the front might actually be getting too hot and too much sun, and being outcompeted because I did plant a lot in there. And this one, and wasn't in the greenhouse, right? So because this one was in the greenhouse, even though I did a major stressor to it by uprooting it, it is now a stronger plant. And then because it's in this spot, I don't know that it's going to keep being stronger because it's not getting as much sun as the one in the front, but we'll see. And again, cabbage stump making another cabbage. This is spinach and nasturtium, and that is definitely becoming a white cabbage. Oh, all right. I'm pretty sure I already talked about that box, but I've been working all day, and my brain has stopped working because I've been working all day. Chicken yard. More proof that, I don't think she actually did any work today. Right. It doesn't seem that different, but we'll save the best for last. These are my 2 butternut squash those 3 seeds were from a squash that went bad on the counter. And then I just took some seeds, put them in a paper towel, put them above the refrigerator, and 3 of them sprouted. So I planted them out, and now we have these 3 beautiful plants from those 3 seeds and a dead rotting fruit in the kitchen. And we are almost to the point where this can start going up and over and being trained onto the coop. And then this is the one weird lonely Spets call from the spring that wasn't super tiny. And apparently the air conditioner is on, which that's good. It's very hot. Okay, now proof of work, which I know that I'm probably going to have spliced in some of the work before. Or maybe I'll do a separate video where one shows all the crazy stuff I did today, and then the other one is just the garden tour. That actually seems like a better plan. I'll do that. That way people who don't care about what it looked like and how it became what it is now don't have to watch that. You can just see the quick before and then now tonight. These used to be cauliflower, these first two. I had some weird bug in here that completely ate the root, and I left this one in just so I could show you. All of the root gone, eaten completely, dead. So as a result of that, I decided to try planting other plants, different families, and see if they would survive. So these are my fennel transplants. I still have some more fennel that I need to find a home for, but they're okay. They've been in for a couple of days and they're still working. They're bushing out. They're becoming plants. And this is one of my eggplant volunteers. And so this also is doing fine. It's been in here for, I think, 3 or 4 days. It's strong. It's not getting uprooted. So that seems like whatever was going on specifically was targeting my brassicas, which doesn't surprise me because I have way too many brassicas. 2 Brussels sprouts that are in dire need of attention, which, if you didn't know, just pull off the lower leaves, and when they come off that easy, they were ready to come off. These, they're not ready, so I will have to cut those off or snap them. And then these are my blueberries that I bought last week and just popped in this pallet collar to make them a little more secure and stable so they don't get knocked over in the wind, because we do get very high winds here in Solna. And I'm just going to keep eating blueberries because I had coffee for dinner, which seems like a mistake now that I'm telling you that. Sucker from a tomato plant, just stuck it in the ground. Sucker from a tomato plant, just stuck it in the ground. It's making me a tomato. There's another sucker hidden back here. Volunteer chrysanthemums. Beets. These are beets. The beets were from the Victory bucket that we planted, and they got outcompeted by potatoes, and so they were just all really small, and we planted too many, and so I just keep pulling little underdeveloped ones and planting them out in places and seeing if they go out of their dormancy once they have enough space to actually become a plant. So that is what is happening there. So these were planted a long time ago, but they didn't have enough space, and now they're finally making beets and sizing up. So that's actually pretty awesome because it was not a waste of seed. I just kind of stunted their growth, and now they're getting it together now that they have growing conditions that make them happier. Whether or not they have any good flavor, that will be a time will tell. All of these flowers that are deadheading right now, I'm just waiting for those seeds to fully mature, and then I'm going to pull them off and I'm going to save them from next year because I actually really like these mums flowers, and I would like to grow them on purpose and not have to pay for them because I'm cheap. Tomatoes, these are all from suckers. And then beans, which I probably should do a bean harvest tonight, but too many things. Strawberries, giving me all the runners in the world. There are so many runners, so that's pretty cool. This didn't give me any strawberries this year, which might be because it got crowded because it was transplanted when it would have been setting, but it is giving me runners for days, which is awesome because my other plants, my main stock is from 3-year-old plants, and they're going to be less prolific. They tend to be best in their second year, so I was going to redo that bed anyway, but now I have all of these runners that are climatized to my region, and they're going to be awesome and great. And when I redo the beds, I will be able to take some of these, and then I can also give these to friends so that they can have strawberries of their own. I strapped up all of those tomatoes, so it is way less crazy, but I just realized that this one snapped, so that is not good, and I'm going to have to get rid of him, and that's very sad because he has a bunch of tomatoes. I'm just going to show you all my fails. It's fine. There are worse things to happen. It's fine. It's just a tomato. Oh, this is pathetic and sad. Sorry. Alright, who are you? Yeah, that's this guy. That's this giant guy that I just fixed. But it's fine. Clearly, it was too much. Okay. So, strapping up tomatoes. Sometimes you're gonna lose them. It's okay. Worst things to happen. So those are the right size, and they're starting to turn color. So I'm just gonna take those inside and let them ripen up. The other ones, those are gonna go in the compost because that is not worth it. Calendula, same thing. I really like the calendula, so I'm letting these go till they form full seed heads, and then I'm going to preserve this or save the seeds for next year and then plant them out again. Yeah, it worked out really, really nicely, and I'm very impressed with them. And then there were a bunch of calendula that were hidden underneath the squash leaves that I needed to prune out. Hello, slug. And the tomatoes that I needed to strap up. And so now that they've been exposed, we will probably get a bunch more flowers in the back here, and that will be a good pest deterrent and encourage beneficial insects, and do all the things an accidentally organic garden does. And nasturtiums are the best. Nasturtiums are the best. They trap the caterpillars. So I am not going to spray the nasturtiums. I'm going to let the caterpillars have them, and I'm going to spray all my brassicas tonight with BT so that we can stop getting everything annihilated by cabbages. Or cabbage moths. I want my cabbages, not my cabbage moths. I pulled 5 guys out of the head of that cabbage last night, which I'm going to make a video of. I really need to do a bean harvest. Beans, and then my happy, happy sunflower that came from nowhere, and it's making a baby. These are my cabbages that were overplanted severely. And oh god, this is horrible. This is horrible and terrible. And this has been attacked by everything in the world. So I'm going to twist him out. So if you have never twisted out a cabbage, you twist out a cabbage and then you throw it on the ground and you say, "Damn you, you cabbage bastard." It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Cabbages. All right. But yeah, clearly these guys have seen better days. And I'm not taking nearly enough care of them. But they're all going to get sprayed with BT tonight, and maybe getting rid of that one will make this one get bigger because I overplanted this box. These are my kohlrabi that I planted probably way too long ago for them to still be this small, but whatever. It's fine. I've been getting attacked by cabbage moths everywhere, and because kohlrabi is a brassica, it's in that family, it has cabbage moths. It's just everywhere. So that I think is the main reason my kohlrabi is not doing very well. But also it was shaded out by that giant pumpkin. I took the pumpkin out, I replaced it with a bunch of beans along the back, and then I had the one other pumpkin that I had thinned out from the box, and then it's the same as the one that's in the back. It's the kabocha, and it has spent 2 weeks or so in the greenhouse getting new roots, and then was transplanted out earlier this week, and no transplant shock, totally fine, totally happy. And now it will hopefully get bigger and then grow up on this trellis with this one random runner bean. But yeah, so my plan is beans and the pumpkin up the trellis. That's the goal. This bed, not doing nearly as good as that bed, but got some tending to today. Not as much. I still need to prune out the bad squash leaves. Like these guys all should get taken off just to restore some health to the plant and stop taking energy away. That's an old broccoli leaf that, right, anytime they snap off, they're ready to go. They're not doing anything but stressing out your plant. So it is not worth keeping it on there if you can remember to take it off. The other thing it does is it will attract slugs. And so I know I'm not the only one who's not a fan of slugs in their broccoli, but you know. And still we got more yellow squash coming. We've got more yellow squash coming. This is a tiny Brussels sprout that got transplanted out of that big box and then put into here, and it recovered. Same thing with the cabbage over there. It was one of the tiny ones in the overplanted box. I pulled it out, stuck it in the ground. I was like, okay, you have more space now. We'll see if you get happy and if you get bigger. I pulled out all my spinach and then I replaced some of them with some beet seeds here. So we have beets coming up, which, yeah, we'll see. There is pumpkin vine going. I don't know if we're going to get any more pumpkins off of this. We got 3, but these are the last 2 plants that are going of the pumpkins. All of the other original pumpkins, the red curry pumpkins, have been taken out. So we'll see. Last year I got like 20 pumpkins, so but I also let them just sprawl and take over the backyard, and they were planted in ground from seed and then just lost their minds. So yeah, I don't know. I think mostly this experimental box, while good for them, did not have enough support and space and was in competition with this tomato, and they just got in a weird fight. And yeah, we'll see if we get more fruit. But in the meantime, I'm just letting it grow and do its thing. And that one initially died back, but now it's coming back and it's starting to set female blossoms. So that plant may be a late starter, but a strong finisher, which everything about this bed was like, it took longer to get going, but it is doing much better in the long run than this bed. Raspberries, more raspberries. And there is a spider who likes to hang out here. There he is. There's my spider friend. And so I always have to make sure that he's not on the raspberry I'm going to eat, because he likes to hang out on the ripest raspberry quite frequently. And so we have conversations. That's not weird. Nope. Beans growing in a container that I found in a lake when we went fishing. We didn't catch any fish, but we got this piece of garbage out of the lake, and my theory was, hey, that's garbage in a lake. Let's give it a purpose. And so its purpose for me was to grow beans and make food. So it's just an old ice cream bucket that I filled with soil and threw some beans in it. And then now we have plants. And hopefully they will grow up the back of here and we will have lots of plants. More raspberries. The experiment, the peas, it has been too hot for them, so they are not happy. The pumpkin is doing fine. The initial first leaves are like dying up back a bit. The salsa is fine. The kale has been attacked by cabbage moths because that is everything in my life right now. And this one is doing the same. This one's actually doing a little bit better because it gets more afternoon shade. It has less sun hours. So that one is struggling a little bit because I think it gets a little too hot, whereas this one is doing slightly better. Aside from the fact that this one is definitely being attacked by caterpillars way more. Hello. Hi. Look at all these caterpillars. This is why I'm spraying everyone with BT tonight. That is why. It's 4. 4. I'm sure there is more than just those 4. Potatoes. Potatoes. This cabbage box was like the last one, super overplanted. I thinned out all of them except for these 5, and now they're actually like forming heads. But these heads have been full of caterpillars, so I keep having to open them up to get all the caterpillars out and then let them keep growing. So I don't know if you can see that, but I will put together a video. I did a caterpillar hunt and did the black light. Unfortunately, the white cabbage moth ones, they don't light up like a tomato hornworm, but they do sometimes make a dark spot. So like, I think I'm actually better at hunting them during the day, even though it's they're just hard. They're hard to see, and they're just going to be hard to see. And so I am reverting to chemical methods. They're organic chemicals, but they're still, you're spraying a bacteria. Like, you have to mix bacteria with water. I'm using pest control that isn't me and the bird army. So I feel a little bit like it's cheating, but I've also, it's time. It's just time with how much we eat brassicas in our family. This is the perennial kale bed. All of the baby kale around are the children of this original plant that is 3 years old, and we just got new seeds. And then we planted some carrots in here, and there's a nasturtium that's supposed to try and help with our cabbage moth problem, but it doesn't really. It's fine. And then some wood sorrel that has self-seeded itself. That's good English, Lauren. That has made its way in here from the other bed, which this one used to be full of the wood sorrel, and then it bloomed, set seeds fly over, they make it to the next bed. And so it'll probably continue to do that because that's the nature of a weed. And it's a delicious weed. And so when I cleaned this bed out today, I actually harvested a bunch of that I'm going to dry for tea and to make like a field lemonade with, because it is actually super delicious and edible and has vitamin C and is tasty and good for you. But it also has high oxalic acid, so have calcium with it. Don't eat too much of it. Use it sparingly. Just don't be a jerk. And this is what it looks like. Sorry, bug. They have these little yellow flowers that are really pretty when they're open. This one will probably be open tomorrow. But yeah, they are the heart-shaped, 3-leaved that people confuse for clover, but their leaves are in the shape of a heart, and they taste like citrus, which is awesome because they're awesome. And then it's rosemary and beans I need to harvest, and then chives that are, I think, almost 4 years old now. It's kind of surreal to think about. And then I just planted a bunch of different salads in here, and then some dill in the corner. So mammoth dill in the corner and a bunch of different types of salad greens in there for winter. Brussels sprouts, nasturtium losing its mind, Brussels sprouts, bean plant that needs to get a harvest, tomato suckers, and yeah, that's the victory bucket that used to have the bamboo in it. And when Jens pulled this bucket out of the ground, we declared it his victory bucket. And I planted it with potatoes and beets and cabbage, and we harvested that and ate it for midsummer dinner. And then this nasturtium is just gorgeous. So I'm hoping to save some of the seeds from this so that I can replant that one next year. This is my tiny clementine tree that's still in its original pot. Eventually I will pot it up, but it's been too weird. And then this is the last remnants of all the work that I did in the greenhouse today. Tomatoes, cat-faced tomato, where half is not ripe, half of it's totally ripe. So that's going to be hilarious and sad. More tomatoes, more brassicas that need to be sprayed down with BT, and beets that are from the beets that were started in the victory bucket back in, oh God, I want to say mid-May. And then we just transplanted them out here. The birds like to go after them, so that also makes them take a long time. This is my chard that is forever old, and I'm just waiting for the seeds to be completely dry, and then I'm going to harvest them all and save them, and then refill up this bucket, find a new home for it, and plant it out again. It used to be in the corner in the greenhouse, but it no longer has that space, so I need to find a new place for it. But that is future Lauren's problem. This is my strawberry bed and my other strawberry bed that have some cabbages and radishes and stuff sprinkled in about, and some peas that are also not doing very well. It's just been too hot for them. We didn't have any summer, and then the last 2 weeks it has been swelteringly hot every single day. And this is the big change. This, from this morning to right now, is a completely different place. Yeah, it's just a completely different place. This is old broccoli leaves and scarlet kale that I was growing for microgreens, and now I'm just using as a trap crop so that the caterpillars go to there and leave my cauliflower alone, which clearly is not working, hence the BT. Plum tomato, beans that need to get harvested, red Russian kale that is just being attacked by caterpillars and I'm handpicking, volunteer eggplant, scarlet bean, bell peppers. These might be the snack peppers because they're so small, but it also might just be because of the size of the container. another sweet pepper, another sweet pepper. There is one yellow beet growing in here, and there are 3 red beets, or 4 red beets growing in there. Another transplanted volunteer eggplant with some chives. I had all of my eggplant volunteer in this bucket, and so we've got a couple of plants in here that are just holding hands, and a bunch of chives and some basil with my grapes. So they're being all happy together. This is my weird asparagus bucket that has a broad bean in there. And yeah, I took out these 3 red Russian kale and replaced them with eggplant because of all the problems that I've been having. And yeah, just pulled them out of there, stuck them in here, watered them, gave them a little bit of fertilizer, and so far everybody's happy and getting it. They're making it. We're making food. Yeah, and then some beans that have seen better days. Tomatoes, scarlet kale, and then totally different. This was the majority of the work I did today. So we have a melon, pumpkin. This is my loofah, another melon, okra, and then I got volunteer beets in a bunch of these. So that's fun. Basil that's getting eaten by flea beetles, and a tomato plant, basil, a tomato, some basil, another pumpkin, which is much happier. This is my broccoli that's been just getting decimated by caterpillars. 2 of the tomato runners from this morning when I strapped those up and did some pruning. I took 2 of the suckers and I put them in here, so we will have later tomatoes. Under here is my ginger. My one ginger plant that was getting dappled shade was doing much better. And then this is my hong choy, which is just water spinach. But yeah, so I put them over here, and then back in that corner is some weird currant that I don't know what it is yet because it hasn't blossomed or given me fruit. And then there is another bucket that has a tomato sucker in it and a blackberry cutting from my friend's lot that got demolished and is being made into apartments. I took a cutting from one of the raspberry bushes, and I'm just rooting it in that very wet box of soil. Yeah, artichokes for next year, another melon, and then I believe this is a cauliflower, and it is covered in butterfly eggs. And then there's just a strawberry runner in there, and I'm letting that have partial shade and just hoping that it'll be okay. Tomatoes. 2 cuttings from sweet peppers when my good pepper broke, and then my hot chili pepper that my boyfriend's sister's boyfriend gave to us, or Sambo. So some raspberry cuttings that were underneath there and being neglected. Basil, and very, very sad caterpillar eaten early sprouting broccoli. Another early sprouting broccoli completely decimated by caterpillars. And the rest of my fennel transplants, I just put some pepper seeds in here that I just took out of a snack pepper that from the grocery store. Put it on paper towel and was like, okay, we'll see what sprouted, and a bunch sprouted. So that's there. That bucket over there. The rest of the pepper seeds were still on the paper towel, so I just put the paper towel in some dirt and then covered it with dirt, and we will see if we get more peppers. So yeah, I'm like, they're free, it's fine. These are very old, very sad cabbage starts that should have been put out a long time ago, and that is a golden beet from the grocery store that I was sprouting to try and harvest seed from. So that I'm just growing so that we can get the seed from it and plant it next year. These are my dino kale and my pak choi that got decimated by caterpillars. These 4 dino kale were okay, and those got transplanted out. This is my weird patch of beets that I've been pulling seedlings from. Today. Back there is a watermelon that is growing through my garlic chives and my regular chives with some noodle beans, and then more tomatoes, And this is chive and broccoli bucket in this bare patch. I seeded some kohlrabi tonight, but this is decimated by cabbage moths because that's how they roll. This new bucket has dill in it, so we should be getting dill soon. This is Basiltown with tomato, and this is brand new thing that I've been trying to get in here. I've been trying to find one of these vertical planters. It's a smaller one than I was originally hoping to get, but this one was on Facebook Marketplace today for 150 crowns, which is like 15 bucks. And so I went out and I picked it up, and it is now planted out with some basil and some mint and my dino kale and a random pepper that I found and beet seedlings. And then on this tier and this tier where it looks like nothing's there, I've seeded kohlrabi. So hopefully we will get kohlrabi in these 4 side pockets and on the top, but everything else has already been started. That's the only place where I put new seeds. So hopefully that'll get enough sun to germinate and we will have vegetables. And it's in this base tray and I can turn it on the tray. It will rotate if I need to give it more sun. So that's good. It's not on wheels or anything. It's not fancy. It's just a little floral green stock that I've planted out and I'm going to hope that we can harvest food from. And if not, it will become an herb garden, and that is totally fine because it is small, but it does make me want to smuggle a green stock from the US into Sweden because they don't sell them here, even though they are ridiculously expensive. And I'm too cheap, which is why we built this crazy monstrosity, because we wanted to do some vertical gardening in here. And you know that it's hacked together when you strap it to the ceiling with twine. You know that that is the most hacked together. But yeah, so this is a very big difference from what it was this morning, and I'm super happy with how it turned out. And now I'm gonna go murder all the caterpillars. Wish me luck. Thanks for watching.